Okay, so A is the starting molecule of glycolysis. That is what, class? Now, glycolysis literally means glycolysis, splitting of sugar. So what do we split sugar into? Yeah, we make it into two molecules of pyruvate, but it's also known as pyruvic acid. Because when you put it into water, it donates hydrogen ions. Okay? When it comes into the mitochondria, it loses one molecule of carbon dioxide gas. And so now it used to be a 1, 2, 3 carbon molecule. Now it's a 2 carbon molecule attached to an enzyme called coenzyme A. This is acetyl coenzyme A. Okay? In the process of the Krebs cycle, we rip off a lot of electrons and we load them up onto these electron carriers, right? This electron carrier right here is called FADH2. These electron carriers that we create in here and in here and in here, E is NADH. Now, oxygen gas comes into oxidative phosphorylation is the same thing as the electron transport chain. Oxidative phosphorylation, oxygen gas comes in, and then F, water. It turns into water. After all these electron carriers, NADH, and this guy right here is FADH2, these guys dump off all their electrons onto oxygen and turn it into water. Okay? So let's look at cellular respiration begins with what molecule? Glucose. Which is broken down during what process? What's that first process? Glycolysis. Which produces a net gain of how many ATP, guys? 2 ATP. Where does this occur? Where does glycolysis occur? Let's look at this, guys. Where does glycolysis occur? No, glycolysis is right here, guys. Where does glycolysis occur? The Krebs cycle and the electron transport chain, which goes through a process called oxidative phosphorylation. Those two occur in the mitochondria. So this occurs in the cytoplasm. Glycolysis produces these 2 3-carbon molecules, right? Called what? Glycolysis, we take a 6-carbon sugar and we split it into 2 3-carbon sugars called pyruvate. Without oxygen, right, we can go through this anaerobic process such as fermentation, right, which can produce either lactic acid or what's the other type of fermentation? Because there's 2 types of fermentation, right? There's alcoholic and there's lactic acid. So lactic acid fermentation produces lactic acid. Alcoholic produces alcohol. And what else? Carbon dioxide. But if we have oxygen, O2, We go through aerobic respiration, starting with the Krebs cycle, which occurs in the what? Where does the Krebs cycle occur? The Krebs cycle produces a little bit of ATP, right? 1 ATP. But really what it does is it produces NADH and FADH2. These are those electron carriers. Oops. Used in the electron transport chain. You know, a good way to abbreviate that is ETC. And at the end of the day, we're going to make some ATP. The electron transport chain can make about 30 to 32 ATP. About 30 to 32 ATP.